honestly, I did not move to Los Angeles just to be a voice actor. I came to Los Angeles about 147 years ago, long before you were born. And what I wanted to do was what most actors do when they come to Los Angeles, that is TV and movies. And I primarily was a singer who became an actor. When I was, how old are you? 12, 13?
14.
14? Okay, when I was your age, I was really involved in music and singing. I just loved, I used to sing at school and church and all that, and I just loved to sing. Then I got involved in theater, and I traveled around the country doing live theater and music. And when I was 22, I moved to LA to start my career. But I did not come here initially just to do cartoons. I came here because I just love to perform, and I'm one of those very fortunate people who knew what I wanted to do when I was a pretty young guy. The only other thing I really wanted to do was be a professional hockey player, and I was pretty good in high school, but not good enough to make any money at it. So my second desperate passion was performing, and that's what got me out here.
So the other passions you were interested in were hockey and performing.
Yeah, hockey, music, theater, movies. Sports. I'm a typical boy. I love golf. I love hockey. I love cars, motorcycles, all that stuff. Yeah, and I'm still a boy. Only I have white hair. I'm a little older.
Did you audition for most of the roles you had to play in?
I did, and one of the things that happened, and still do, because I'm not really a celebrity talent. I'm very grateful that you're talking to me, but it's not like being a movie star. In my case, the characters are famous, and a lot of them are really famous. But I didn't draw them, and I didn't write them. I'm just the actor and the singer. Most people pay attention to what I do because it makes them happy. You know, they start talking like Yakko, and look, you smile. Just the best part about my job. Makes everybody smile. And I get paid. Wow. But yeah, I have to audition for stuff. I don't think I audition as much now as I used to because I've been around for a while and people know. Folks who are producing new shows know that I can deliver when they hire me. So I get a lot more work given to me as a result of my track record. But yeah, I've auditioned for everything that you probably know: Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Ninja Turtles, Jimmy Neutron, all that stuff. I auditioned for all of it.
Were you nervous for most of your roles?
Well, yeah, I'm nervous a little bit, but I think, do you perform at all, Sweet? Do you singing or music or anything? Okay, you have friends who are into that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they probably would tell you that they still get a little nervous, but it's kind of like doing a test in school. It's kind of like you do a lot of, if you do your homework and you work really hard and you're prepared, then you might be a little nervous because that's just adrenaline. You just want to do a really good job. But if you're prepared, then the nerves are more about just trying to deliver and trying to get everything right. It's not, oh my God, I hope I don't screw up. That's normal at the beginning. And so I still get nervous. I do a lot of live performing now, and I still get nervous before I go on. But it's a really excited kind of nerves, like, oh my gosh, let's get this show on the road because I just love what I do, you know? But if you're prepared and you work really hard and you learn your lines, all you can do is do your very best, and then you got to forget it. Because most of the top actors in Hollywood and New York don't get the jobs they audition for. You know, if I've done a few thousand half hours of cartoons and Lord knows how many other things, but that means I auditioned for probably 3 times that many that I didn't get. So all the people whom you enjoy, do you like cartoons a lot?
Oh yeah, I'm a big
Yeah, well
fan.
then Tom Kenny, who's SpongeBob, and the cast of The Simpsons, and the folks on Futurama, and all the folks on Ninja Turtles and the Disney, all of them audition, and we don't get the vast majority of the stuff for which we audition. So that's just the nature of the beast. And yeah, you get a little nervous, but once you audition, you forget about it. And then if you're really lucky, you get to do a couple of shows that really have an influence. And then I get to talk to nice people like you 30 years later.
So did your earlier performing help to inspire you to become a voice actor?
It did, and I'll tell you why, sweetie, because acting is acting. That's the one thing I learned, especially with respect to voice work, is I have been a regular actor for a long time, and that really helped me when I started doing things with my voice, because the great thing about doing voice work is that nobody cares what I look like. I'm old enough to be your grandfather, and I can still be Pinky all day long. How about that? Isn't that crazy? And nobody cares what I look like, so it was pretty neat for a guy who got here when I was a little kid at 20-odd years old, and everybody looked like me. They were average-looking guys from, in my case, Michigan or Pennsylvania or Ohio or Colorado or London or wherever, and they're all they all want to be actors. So when I started auditioning for cartoons, I thought, man, this is cool. Nobody cares what I look like. It doesn't matter if I'm tall, thin, short, fat, green, orange, black, white, doesn't matter. And so was really great. So yes, my traditional acting background really helped me a lot when I started doing voice work. And I think the reason that some of the characters that I've done that you like and your friends like, and many of the other ones that folks know, are because the people who are performing them are accomplished actors. And it's not just about the funny voice. If it's just the funny voice, you're going to talk about it pretty quick. It's got to have something substantial behind it, or you won't really pay attention.
Did you love every role you played?
Well, I did, because they paid me. I have certainly some that I like more than others because they become really dear to me, and I'm a fan of the particular show in which I've worked. But anytime that somebody pays me, I'm grateful to work for them. So it's very difficult for me to say there are certain jobs I don't like, because I have no trouble taking their money. And if I take their money, then I'm very grateful that I like the job. Certainly there are some that have lasted longer than others, but there were none that I didn't like doing.
Which character would you say was the most fun to play?
Boy, that's pretty tough. Did you watch Jimmy Neutron at all? A little bit. It's probably a little before your time. I played a little fat guy called Carl, and I like him a lot. But I really like Yakko. Did you watch Animaniacs?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love to sing United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru. Do you know the whole song?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God! You're amazing! I really like that show because I got to work with Steven Spielberg and a whole bunch of great actors, and I love Pinky and the Brain because the other actor who plays the Brain, Maurice LaMarche, is just a phenomenal talent. And actually tomorrow morning I'm going to go meet him in Kansas City. We're going to spend the weekend signing autographs for Pinky and the Brain fans, which is huge fun. But you know what else? I got to be 2 Ninja Turtles, man. I got to be Raphael like 100 years before you were born, when Miss Bond was a little girl.
Yes, I remember.
And now, do you watch Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Donatello. I'm 2 turtles with a 25-year gap, and I have to tell you, you're way prettier than April O'Neil. Don't tell her I said that, because she'll beat me up.
I'm flattered.
Oh, well, honey, I'm sorry. It's the truth. I may be an old turtle, but I'm not stupid.
So, what character do you think was the hardest to play?
Probably in the 90s, I did. Have you ever heard of a movie called The Mask with Jim Carrey? Okay, there was a cartoon show based on that in which I got to be that character for a whole lot less money. And so I got to be the Jim Carrey character in the animated version of The Mask, and that was probably the most challenging because every time, as you may know, every time Stanley Ipkiss puts on the mask, he changes into some other crazy character. So that was probably the most challenging because every half hour there'd be 3 or 4 different things that I'd have to turn into and bounce off the walls and improvise and go all over the place. So that was challenging, but challenging just means more fun. Whatever you do that you're passionate about, I don't know what it is that really makes you happy, but if you like animals or you like dance, you like sports, whatever, it doesn't matter. If there's something that you really, really love to do and you reach a certain level, you can't wait to try to push beyond that level. And I think that's what drives people to become physicians or research scientists or surgeons or doctors or lawyers or athletes, because you reach a certain plateau and you feel comfortable. And if you really, really want to continue to play at a high level, you have to push yourself. So I love that.
Do you think the characters that you played has inspired others?
Boy, I hope so. I think that some of the characters I've played have inspired others to become actors, which is always a good thing. Certainly, there were. Excuse me, but this is one of my doggies. She wants to have. This is Poochie. She says hi. Say hi, Poochie. Her tongue is sticking out. She looks like she's drunk, but she's not really. But she just wants to say hello. I've got two of them. There's another one sitting here too. They're sisters, and these doggies. Yeah, I know. Okay, you're not camera shy. How can you be? You're so beautiful. So yeah, I think that there are actors certainly whom I've inspired. When I say I want to qualify that. I don't draw them and I don't write them. It's an incredibly collaborative effort, as you can imagine. I can't even draw stick figures. I am just an actor and a singer. But I would like to think that some of the characters that I've had a hand in have inspired people. Certainly when I was a kid, Mel Blanc, who was Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all those characters, he's been dead for many years now, but those characters are still really fantastic. And many other actors who've since passed away have inspired me, and I've gotten to work with many of them. So to the extent that I've become famous or work that I've done has become well known, I certainly hope it's at a level that inspires other actors the way those previous generation of folks inspired me. Yeah, it's really nice when you can have actors or anybody, whether they're teachers or we're all teachers to some extent, at the risk of sounding a little too philosophical, but the idea is that you're supposed to pave the way for the next group of folks. And I would suggest that probably when you're my age, you'll have helped a lot of people find out, what makes them happy, whether it's as a result of your work or being a mother or a teacher or aunt or an uncle, not an uncle, but an aunt. And you have, the whole idea is to try to help folks be the best they can be. And, as they say, we're all in this together, right? So it's great to be able to help everybody.
Do you think that the characters you've played inspired yourself?
Oh, totally. Yeah, in fact, 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago this month, and this, I'll tell you because it's not a sad story, but I was diagnosed with throat cancer 2 years ago, and I'm fine. But as you can imagine, what I do for a living, it kind of got my attention, But the characters that I was fortunate enough to work on, many of which I'm still working on. It looks like we might be doing some more Animaniacs with Pinky and the Brain. I don't know if you heard that, but isn't that cool? Yeah, on Hulu. Yeah, so I'm keeping my fingers because that's going to be great. But absolutely, the characters that I love to laugh. If you can't tell, I just do. And humor was a huge part in me being able to deal with my own health challenge. I'm fine, but it was a tough treatment. It, pretty much torched my throat and my mouth and all of that for a few months, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to work again, so I had to kind of think, well, you've had a pretty good run. I'm not, a kid. Even if it were the end of the road, I'd have had a pretty good time, but the characters that I did and the things that I could recall and the friends with whom I work, all of that is part of the whole big, wonderful picture. And so that humor and the ability to laugh at myself, irrespective of the circumstance, was very helpful. Absolutely.
What character did you play the longest?
It's probably... if you combine my two turtles, you're looking at about 14 years or 13 years. I was Raphael and Donatello for a combined, I think, 14 years. But one character, probably Yakko and Pinky, because I think we did 100 Animaniacs, but it was spread out over 6, 7 years. Boy, I don't know. I've been so fortunate. It's tough to tell. I think probably Yakko and Pinky were the longest in a running series, but nothing like The Simpsons. One of my best friends is Nancy Cartwright, who's Bart Simpson. And do you know that I remember having lunch with her 35 years ago, I guess it was, at a Marie Callender's out here in Burbank. And we were working on a project together, and we had the same agent, and we were both about, I don't know, 25, 26. And I said, so what are you working on, Nance? And she said, I'm doing these little cartoons. They were part of a thing called the Tracy Ullman Show. And they're called The Simpsons. I don't know. Hopefully something happens with it. How about that? And now it's the longest running series in the history of television. So you just never know. But in my case, it would probably have to be the Turtles or Animaniacs, yeah.
What age were you when you started to voice act?
Well, I actually really did it back in Michigan. I used to do local commercials with friends of mine. I had a buddy I went to high school with whose father had a recording studio because he did a local radio show in Flint, Michigan. And so I would do local radio commercials and manipulate my voice and sing in character, and I would do it in exchange for stuff. Like if we'd do a commercial for a sporting goods store, they'd give me a bunch of hockey sticks, you know. In terms of doing it for in Hollywood, it was probably 1983. The first shows I did out here were G.I. Joe and Transformers, and that was Generation 1, as they call it. But those were the first animated shows that I did, and then one thing led to another, and boy, I started doing all the Disney afternoon stuff, which probably Ms. Bond remembers, yes. Like Darkwing Duck and Tailspin and Goof Troop and Rescue Rangers and Gummy Bears, and oh my God, and then we did Tiny Toon Adventures and Tasmania and oh my goodness, it was The Mask and The Tick and Mighty Max and Biker Mice from Mars, and oh my God, it was crazy, great fun.
What were your goals when you started?
My goal, well, I actually had a goal when I started, when I moved to, well, when I started doing it as a kid, it was, I think, for the noblest of reasons, which is because I couldn't not do it. I am so happy when I'm performing. It's something that just makes my soul happy. And I realized when I was quite young how much I loved it. I didn't think for a moment that I was going to make a dime at it because I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I just loved the whole process of performing and working with other people and laughing and singing and all that stuff. You hear my dog snoring? She's snoring. Listen. You hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's sleeping. She's snoring. Anyway, so when I moved to LA, that was a different story because now I was coming out to try to do it for a living, and I was in my 20s as opposed to being 12 or 13 or 14. But so my goal was literally just to be able to pay my bills. I thought, you know what? I have no delusions of grandeur. One of the great things about my experience was that by the time I came out here, I knew that it was very competitive. Everything is. That's just the way it goes. I knew that I would be subjected to a lot of no, thank you, maybe, no, and that's just the way it goes. I totally get that. So I wasn't surprised by any of it. I knew how to take a punch, metaphorically, and I guess and literally as a result of being a hockey player. But so when I came out here, it was about getting enough work to make a living, and that to me that meant just a better class of ramen and a decent apartment, you know. So anything after that has been gravy, and I still set goals for myself. It's always been very important for me to set long-term and mid-term goals, and you know what? That practice and that ability to have clear ideas of where you'd like to go. That doesn't mean it always happens. It means you have an intent, and I have been wildly successful, certainly much more than I ever expected, to be able to have a regular job like normal people that braces on my kids' teeth and send them to college and buy doggy food and pay the mortgage and have cars like normal people. And I go to work every day and get paid to do it. Used to get me in trouble in 7th grade. I'm a pretty lucky guy.
So would you say you accomplished the goals you started?
Yeah, I definitely accomplished my initial goal, which was to make a living. Like, I got out here, and it took me about probably 3 or 4 years to get to the place where I could actually pay all my monthly bills doing nothing but being an actor and a singer. And that it took me, I don't know, 10 or 11 years to get to the place where I could buy a house. But I have a couple of them now and haven't missed any mortgage payments yet. So I must be doing something right. But yeah, I definitely accomplished my first bunch of goals. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a big sports car nut, and when I was a kid, I wanted so badly. I wanted to have a Porsche 911 so much I could taste it, and so that was one of my material goals. And I was able to have. Now I've had a bunch of 911s, and I just love cars. So I have eclipsed a number of my goals, but all that does, as I mentioned earlier, is make me want to reach bigger ones.
Have you set any recent goals for yourself?
I have. I'm getting a little older now, so I'm closer to the end than the beginning. But my goals are I want to get a book deal. I feel I have an interesting story now as a result of my throat cancer. I think I have a great story that could be very helpful and inspirational. Not because I'm a terribly heroic fellow. You can read books like The Diary of Anne Frank, that teaches you what real heroism is. But I have experience now and a sense of empathy. Do you know what empathy means?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have a sense of, and forgive me, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm pretty old, so empathy. I have a sense of empathy now that I never would have had were it not for this cancer experience. So I really love kids. I've gotten a chance to talk to so many kids around the world, and I mean big kids too, like 40 and 50-year-old kids who just love Pinky and the Brain and cartoons. And I find that many, 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 many people really react to the characters that I've been lucky enough to work on, just like the other actors who do this. And so if there's a way that I can use my personal experience to help other people deal with their struggles, health and otherwise, then I want to do that. So that's one of my goals, is to get a book deal, and I'm working on that now. I'm now pitching my own projects. That is, myself and other actors are working on projects that we take to Netflix and Hulu and Disney and Warner Brothers to pitch our own shows. And I'm working with wonderful actors in that. One of my best buddies is Mark Hamill, who you probably know as Luke Skywalker, and he's just a wonderful actor and a great guy. And we worked on so many things together. In fact, he was the Joker on Batman, the animated series, for 20 years. So Mark and myself and a guy named Kevin Conroy, who was the voice of Batman on that show, are putting together projects. And so that is a big goal for me. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, what else? I have a little talk show on something called the Nerdist Channel, in which I talk to, it's called Talkin' Tunes, and I have, every week I have somebody on who's another voice actor. This week it was Bill Farmer, who's been the voice of Goofy for 31 years. 31 years he's been doing, and he's just a blast. But I've had everybody on, Tress MacNeille, who is Dot, and Nancy Cartwright, I mentioned, Billy West, who's Ren and Stimpy, and John DiMaggio from Futurama. All these wonderful people I've known forever, and so I love doing that, and I want to take that bigger. And let's see, what else? One of the best parts about Animaniacs was the music. I love the music from it. So myself and the gentleman who wrote most of the songs that you know have a deal with Warner Brothers by which we're able to take that music around the country and perform it live. And so we've been doing that a lot. I think we did about 12 dates last year. So my goal is to get that to the place where we play it with big orchestras. We've already done it with orchestras around the country, and it's such a blast. But my goal is to play it out here at the Hollywood Bowl because that's a really wonderful, famous venue that means a lot to me personally. And my goal with that is, if everything goes as planned, the new Animaniacs reboot is scheduled for 2020 on Hulu. So Randy and I are trying to work out a deal by which we can play the music of Animaniacs and even some new music and coincide that with the launch of the new show in 2 years at the Hollywood Bowl. So that's another goal. And whether or not, I achieve them isn't so much the issue as the fact that I continue to have something to go after.
So what do you find yourself doing right now?
Right now, I'm talking to this sweet girl in Pennsylvania with a couple of sleeping Yorkies on my lap. Not a bad way to go. In terms of work, I'm directing. There's a new Ninja Turtles that's coming out this fall on Nickelodeon, and I'm directing that show, which is a first time for me. I never expected that. I've been on the other side of the glass for a long, long time, but earlier in 2017, a year ago, the folks at Nickelodeon said, well, this version of the show that you're on is ending, but there's a new one coming up, and since you've been a two-time turtle, we think that you would be the guy that could direct the new actors if you would be interested. And I said, sure, and we're having a blast. And the four guys and April O'Neil are just wonderful actors. And the cool thing is that one of them knows everything I've ever done. When I first met them, they just freaked out. Said, oh my God, it's Pinky, it's Yakko, it's And it was just so much fun to see these people my son's age and younger who had grown up listening to or watching everything I've ever done. So it's kind of come full circle, and it's an awful lot of fun. They're really nice people, and so that, and I do a lot of personal appearances, as I told you I'm going to tomorrow, and pitching projects, and my show at Nerdist. I'm a pretty busy guy.
So does what you do now still follow your passion?
Yo, totally, absolutely. Yeah, if you can't tell by now, then I like to talk. Good thing I get paid for this, huh? No, honey, I'm a very, very fortunate fellow, and yes, I follow my passion all the time, and boy, I'll tell you, if there's anything that you can find that you really love to do, you're a very fortunate person. If you can find something you love to do and you're good at it, then you really done something. Then, if you find something you love to do every day, and you're good at it, and you find a way to get paid for it, you've essentially won the lottery of life. And it doesn't matter how much the money is. It's about you being compensated both, financially and emotionally to do something you would do for free. I don't care if it's being a doctor, being a teacher, being an actor, or a farmer. It's really about something that if you can wake up every day and find yourself going to a job that you would do for free, then you're a very fortunate person, and that's me.
So that's all the questions I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You said you know Yakko's World, you know the song?
Yeah.
All right, you want to sing it with me?
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to sing it. Taylor and I are going to sing this song. Are you guys going to fire up your phones?
May I?
Okay, good. No pressure, Taylor. All right, now let me know when you guys are ready, because Taylor's going to knock this out of the park, okay? Taylor, you're going to have a bodyguard now. Everywhere you go, people are going to say, oh my God, that's that Taylor that sang that song with the old guy. Okay, you ready, kids? All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Hang on a second. Hello, everybody. This is Yakko Warner here, disguised mysteriously as an old person. But that's only because I don't want people to recognize me. This is really me, banging around inside the melon of this old guy. And I and my sweet friend Taylor are going to sing Yakko's World, okay? Here we go. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru.
Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too. Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam, Norway and Sweden, and Iceland and Finland, and Germany now one piece, Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey, and Greece, Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman, Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq, and Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Yemen, Kuwait, and Bahrain, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Portugal, France, England, Denmark, and Spain, India, Pakistan, Burma, Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan, Cambodia, Malaysia, the Bangladesh, Asia, and China, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, Laos, Tibet, Indonesia, the Philippines, Ireland, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Sumatra, New Zealand, and Borneo, and Vietnam, Tunisia, Morocco, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland, Gambia, Kenya, Algeria, Ghana, Minnesota, Malawi, Togo, the Spanish Sahara is gone. Nigeria, China, Nigeria, Egypt, Guinea, Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya, and Mali, Sierra Leone, and Algeria, Dahomey, Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Guinea, Brazil, Madagascar, Rwanda, Norway, and Cayman, Hong Kong, Qatar, Yugoslavia, Mauritania, Pennsylvania, Monaco, Pakistan, Malta, and Palestine, Fiji, Australia, Sudan.
I forgot how long that song is.
Oh my god.
Boy, that was great, you guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me. Look at all those beautiful faces.
Thank you.
That was great fun. You guys, now is this going to be, are you going to, is this like a video presentation you're going to do for your project?
Yeah, sort of. It's understanding perspectives,
Uh-huh.
and we're just.
From my perspective, you are just terrific. And all of you, thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching and paying attention. And I'll tell the brain you all said hello.
Colin, you just missed it.
You missed the whole thing!
Don't miss
The most amazing person is on Facebook.
Thank you so much for doing
You
this.
guys, are there anything else I can help you with?
I think that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, you guys take care. It's really a pleasure. All of us out here in Hollywood really are appreciative that you guys pay attention to what we do. So thank you very much, okay?
Okay.
I love you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.